Welcome to our continuing series of virtual voices. Thank you for your letters and comments. We appreciate receiving them. We are pleased to welcome today Mr. Gary Kuhn, who is the president of Roots of Peace. Our moderator is Apurv Gupta, and Apurv, over to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Durbach. And Gary, what a pleasure it is having you join us for a session of World Information Transfer's Virtual Voices series. Thank you, everyone, to everyone who's joined from around the world today. Gary is, and where to explain, you've had an extremely illustrious career in high technology, working across business development for almost 23 years, starting out at IBM, and then later on at Adobe, and potentially sort of consulting at a time when multiple international technology companies were striving hard to establish their presence and dominance in the United States. More recently, everyone, he's he's the president of Roots of Peace, an organization that really champions productivity, community building, and generally sort of, just scrubbing the remnants of war in war-torn lands across the globe and establishing agricultural communities and rebuilding societies. So it's a pleasure to have you today join us, Gary. And with that, I pass it over to you to explain to our audience Roots of Peace and your work in international development.
Thank you, Apurv, and welcome everybody. I'm going to talk a little bit about Roots of Peace. We're a nonprofit organization based in California. We focus exclusively on post-conflict countries across the world, where we go in and first work in the aftermath of the conflicts, clearing the remnants of the war, landmines, weapons, unexploded bombs, and done that in really a lot of the countries we operate in are kind of a result of the collapse of the Soviet bloc, and left a power vacuum in a lot of countries, and civil wars ensued, and it was kind of a lost generation in a lot of these countries. Cambodia, there was fighting for 27 years. There's actually multiple conflicts. Angola, we worked in 23 years of fighting. Afghanistan, the fighting started in 1978, and it's still going on. So that's our focus. It's a kind of a tough nut to attack, but that's what we do. And we've gone into these countries. We started off in the Balkans, in Croatia, and started clearing mines that were in orchards and villages there. The landmines were planted indiscriminately in Croatia. There's a very brutal war. They placed landmines in the vineyards, in the orchards, in front of churches. So they would hold the land hostage because there was a threat of the landmines anywhere. They would worry that even if there was no landmines there, if they thought there were landmines, they couldn't use that area. So we worked in Croatia for 9 years and got it to the point where they declared themselves mine-free. It was a wonderful transition. We worked with them for a long time, but when we first started, we cleared the landmines out, went back to these orchards and these villages, expecting to see happy, smiley faces, and we found the same situation. The vineyards and orchards looked exactly the same as they did when they were mined. And we tracked the farmers down and said, why? We spent a lot of money and time doing this. And they said, we can't quit our day job, this kind of remedial job that they had, because it takes 3 years to get their orchard back to life. So we were kind of embarrassed, and at this, we're expecting these results would just happen. So we made a commitment that, okay, no longer we're just going to demine, we're going to demine and replant. And so we wanted to lock in the impact of the work that we were doing. So from then on, everything became demine, replant. And the first project we did that way was in Cambodia, where we were teaching Cambodians how to grow rice. And it's kind of crazy to teach anyone in Southeast Asia how to grow rice. But again, there's a lost generation. The fathers of the family had died or had left the country, and the sons and the daughters were there struggling, trying to do it. They've seen it, they kind of felt, but they're always a little bit off, which in agriculture means you're a lot off. So we taught them how to grow rice. We cleared a couple of villages of landmines, and then brought in a team to teach them how to grow rice, put a pump in there and for water, and got them going. And it worked really, really well. I said, okay, this is going to be our model now. We then took that model to other countries. We've done work in West Bank, in Angola, and then in Afghanistan and Vietnam, where we're working now. These areas were devastated when we go into these countries. Angola had a civil war right after the Russian collapse, the Soviet collapse, and one side was funded by oil money, and the other side was funded by diamonds. And so you had two extremely well-funded armies fighting each other over 23 years. And the country, the land, was the big loser. A lot of people were killed. Starvation set in after the conflict. But the land was decimated. They hunted the animals almost to extinction. The sable, which is their symbol of the country, hasn't been seen in 20 years. So it's really a disaster for the environment as well. So we go in and we clear landmines. In this case of Angola, the roads were heavily mined, roads and bridges. So we're clearing those to allow access into areas. Once we get that, then we start in with the agricultural programs. In Afghanistan, we were working with fruits and nuts, everything from cherries, pomegranates, apples, apricots, and working with them to fine tune how they grow. And the same thing in Afghanistan, the people we're teaching are the next generation who never really learned. So we're teaching farmers in Afghanistan who've grown grapes there for thousands of years, I think, and we're teaching them how to grow grapes. We gave them all the options, taught them the options. One option we actually left off is whether to grow organically or conventional. And we just decided that everyone's going to grow organic. So all of our programs are organic. They don't, at the time they didn't know it. Said this is what's going to be. But that worked out very, very well for them. And the farms are doing extremely well there. We planted over 5 million fruit trees over the course of the last 7 years, helping farmers convert from wheat fields and poppy fields to cherry orchards. Their incomes went from $2 a day to $15 a day, which in Afghan terms is massive. These guys, with this extra money, they're able to pay for school and medical. Visit some of these guys and they want to show me their new man cave that they built. And it's interesting how it comes out, but they're a different family. And so that's the process that we adopted, and we worked with it. But we also had to take this approach that if something gets in the way, you got to fix it. If they need a school, build it. If they need roads, build it. So we weren't thinking, okay, this is all we do is take bombs out of the ground and plant trees in there. There's a lot of other things you have to do. And we just said, we're going to do whatever is necessary to make that family successful. And so our programs have people who are PhDs in agronomy, but also we have construction people who know how to build schools. So the kind of the approach that we went forward with is just whatever has to happen, do it. And it works. We get funding from private individuals, and the UN has been a huge supporter. Kofi Annan and Nan Annan both were avid supporters of Roots of Peace, helped us launch the organization, and then supported us at multiple events. And then we went to larger donors also that had more funding for these types of development programs. We approached USAID and World Bank, Asia Development Bank, European Union, and they all supported it. they all had their idea on what they wanted to do, and we kind of had to create a patchwork quilt of what we're going to do, because we could only bring them over a little bit, just keeping what they're trying to do, but we wove it all together in kind of a master strategy. We had a 10-year strategy in Afghanistan. It didn't work. We're here for 17 years, but it's working out very well. And different donors have played different roles in there, but it's been a consistent mantra that we've had and what we've been saying on our strategy to them. And they finally listened. About 6 years ago, they finally said, okay, I wore them down. They started following our plans, and we were able to start promoting exports more, because as we planted these 5 million trees, fruit trees, the fruit had to go somewhere. Afghanistan could not consume all that fruit. So we opened up trade corridors to India through Pakistan, which is a tough neighborhood to get through. Corridors going to the north to Kazakhstan. We had to get Uzbekistan to allow trucks to go through. And we're looking at how we could develop Chabahar. The US government has issues with Iran. We're having to figure out how to get some other funders to help build that trade corridor out. So it's a challenge, but if you take on the approach where you're just going to get it done, then everything answers itself fairly easily. You have to go in and figure out all the steps necessary and then work with all those steps at once. If you just plant trees and you don't care about the market, the prices will drop in half, even though the yields are gone up. So you have to look through all the way through. How are you going to pack these things? Well, Afghanistan did not have any cardboard box manufacturers. So we helped set up 4 box manufacturers. And we needed trucks. There was no refrigerated trucks, refrigerated containers in Afghanistan. So we organized how to get those up there, which is, so this is transportation. So you quickly see that you wanted to be doing landmines, but you end up doing everything if you want to get to your goal. So we've been pushing this, and we keep kind of our very pragmatic approach and getting things done and getting to our end goal. If you don't, you could easily be pulled off by opportunistic activities, and you're sidetracked, and a lot of these donors will give you money for these things, but you're spun off, and then you're trying to figure out what are you trying to accomplish. And so our push is just stay within our mission, stay within what we're doing. We do agriculture, but it's very specific. We do horticulture, which is fruits, nuts, vegetables. We don't deal with livestock. We don't deal with food security crops like corn and wheat. We're focused on building livelihoods, building hope for these farmers. And as we work in these troubled areas, wherever they are, in the highlands of Vietnam, all throughout Afghanistan, as you build hope for them, the rate of conflict goes down. This is an important thing. And so we are documenting this right now in an impact survey. And preliminary numbers already show this, that if you help people understand how they could build a decent living and have a better life than what they had for their kids, then it will be peaceful. Okay? If you don't have that, there's a lack of that. People are fighting over the scraps that they see that are the opportunities in front of them. So that's been kind of our mantra, and we're going to prove that when we get this survey out. But it's a very tight correlation. When we go into areas, we could decide where we work with this village here or this village here. But we go in and talk to them first. We ask them and talk to them about this kind of stuff. If they don't see how that this is a positive thing, we don't work with them. If they can't control their area, their tribe is not strong enough, we won't work with them. So we demand a lot from the people we work with. If they don't do the program activities, we train them on how to grow, and we train them specifically the key steps. If they don't do that, they're out of the program. It's not a coddle thing where you work, nicely with them and, take care of it if they screw up. If they screw up, we give them a chance to rebound. They don't, they're out. and it forces them to step up. It forces them, it's an investment of their time and money. We expect every program recipient to put in half the cash for the activity. They have to pay half the cash, the cost of the trees. They have to pay half the cost of the cardboard box manufacturer that went in there. So they're putting their cash in, which is crucial because for them, that's an investment as opposed to a handout. Handouts, people don't care much, you know. Will it work? Will it not? Sure, I'll take your stuff for free. That doesn't work. And we've actually studied that in Vietnam and in Afghanistan. In Vietnam, there was a large project going on. They spent $9 million on cacao to make trees that make chocolate beans. And they gave away all the trees. Farmers didn't have to pay anything. We had a similar program going on, and we charged farmers half the cost. And our farmers, within 2 years, 90% of the orchards were still intact. 90% of the trees in the orchards were still intact. 10%, a few of them died. Sometimes you plant them in the wrong place. The other ones that were given away free, the first year they had lost 50% of their trees. The second year they were down to only having 30% still living. So this notion of investment versus relief is huge. It is crucial. You know, if you go in and just give something, sure, they'll take it. And you could write your nice little report up and say, yes, we did this, all these people. And it's very easy to do. You get really big numbers on that, but it's not sustainable. And the farmers aren't asking the right questions. You know, there's this group of farmers in Vietnam, and I just explained to them that they're gonna have to pay half the money, and they're an hour long, they're just saying, no, this is wrong, wrong, wrong. Finally, this woman stood up and said, well, if I have to put in some money, how do I know if I'm gonna get a good tree? Boom, there's the first good question, right? You need to figure out what is a good tree because you're paying for it and you want to live, right? You've changed the orientation from relief to, you know, my investment. I'm putting my time in, I'm gonna make this work. And our success rate in the field is huge. It's because the farmers are successful. They're working hard, they're paying for it. So we take this same model and we've applied it in a number of different countries. It works, and we want to expand it around. And, you know, it's what we're looking at is, you know, we don't have to do this. Other people could do the same model. You could look at what's called the Northern Triangle in Central America. Probably get these countries wrong. Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, maybe Nicaragua. I'm not sure which. 3 countries down there. Guatemala is definitely one of them. In Guatemala, my son's living there, so I went down and visited him. Coffee prices are extremely low. The price of coffee is below production cost in Guatemala. So these farmers, if they grow coffee there, they're going to end up owing money. So they're just abandoning their farms. This is their sole living, right? They're abandoning their farms, and where they go, they're coming to America. They're coming to go try and cross the border. Okay, they don't want to leave. I go down and talk to these farmers, and their son was going to leave the next day, kind of thing. They do not want to go, and except their living livelihood is gone. Their hope is gone. So in Guatemala, there's a huge opportunity to go in and work with these farmers and say, okay, you've been growing coffee, it doesn't work anymore. You're gonna have to do another crop. Let's figure out what kind of crops you can grow here. You know, the farmers that are above 5,000 feet have higher quality coffee. They could sell that as specialty coffee and get a higher price instead of dumping it into the commodity market. Yes, there's opportunities for these farmers. So the agriculture economics has to happen first. They have to figure out, okay, if you sell into the specialty coffee market, how much are you going to earn? What are you going to have to do extra? How are you going to teach those farmers how to do that extra work so they get this higher price? And so it's a basic approach. Are they going to still sell to the same coffee buyers, or are they going to sell directly in to coffee coffee buyers in America? And the coffee industry is changing. You know, the amount of green beans purchased in America is accelerating dramatically. Roasting is being done in local cities instead of by massive roasters down in Guatemala. So the market's changing, which means there's a great opportunity there to shift these farmers over. In Guatemala, they're also growing corn. That price of corn is in the toilet. You know, the two main crops for Guatemalan farmers are unproductive for them. You know, so there's no question why there's so many people, so many Guatemalans coming to US now. You know, instead of building a wall, take that money and go down and figure out how these guys can make money and a livelihood in their own country. And so it's a challenge there, but they've got a wonderful climate. I mean, it's 65 to 70 degrees there most of the year. It's a wonderful spot to grow. So that's when you look ahead. That's one big opportunity that we're looking at. We'd love to work in Africa more. Zimbabwe, we were looking at going there. Went 2 trips to Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, the government there does not understand that they need to support private sector and build the economy. They're trying to squeeze out whatever they can for their other priorities, whatever they are. They are not using market-driven economics, and the country is just slowly disintegrating. Yemen is another country we visited. My son Tucker and I went there 3 years ago, just before the conflicts, or in between the conflicts. And Sana'a is a phenomenal place. You know, I thought it was gonna be like desert kind of stuff, but Sana'a is up at elevation. It's like 4,000 feet, 4,500 feet, beautiful weather. You get fresh fish from Aden driven in every day, phenomenal spot. But the country is a disaster. They're subsidizing the fuel prices, which basically subsidizes pumping water out of the ground. So the water tables are dropping 25 meters per year. And it's already down to like 300 or 400 meters where the water is. So eventually you can't pump. And so that Sana'a is the longest continuously inhabited city in the world. And my guess is it's going to be a shadow of itself in 5 years. As this crisis continues, this same process of pumping water is continuing to go on. So it's quite a challenge. There's lots of work around, you know, and somehow we've got to break through in Africa to work with the governments there. The Santos regime in Angola, in Zimbabwe, has got the same kind of thing, and there's a number of countries with the same issue. They've got to take a longer term view that controlling a country that is shrinking is not a good thing. Not a good thing for the people, and it just encourages the flight of capital and flight of intelligence out of the country, and you're left with a stripped country. So in the areas for Roots Peace, we're Afghanistan. We've just committed to a 5-year project now. It'll probably be our last project in Afghanistan. We've done kind of what we wanted to do there, and we're looking as our next projects to go on to other places. We've never taken on, you know, we're working on 3 countries right now. That's typically what we do. We had no aspirations of becoming a, you know, $100 million, $200 million organization. I think keeping it small was a good track. We're able to keep our organization tight, pass our audits, and keep all the donors happy. But it's also keeping it small so that, you know, the private individuals helping Roots of Peace have a big impact. And there's been so many different times when Roots of Peace had serious issues, and there was always somebody there to stand and help. And their help wasn't just a little bit; it was help that helped us survive. Running a nonprofit is tough. There's so many restrictions, you know. You're doing all these things. You have donor restrictions, you have different challenges you're getting every day, but there's been a number of people, you know, as I mentioned before, Nan and On was phenomenal in helping us out. The U.S. State Department has been wonderful. The USA and INL, both are donors for Roots of Peace. USDA, the Department of Agriculture, has been huge in what they've helped out with, and other donors. It's wonderful working with the donors when they get it, and and they don't always get it. And you need to take persistence and pushing your strategy across. But if you have a well thought out, long-term strategy, in the end, you can wear them down and they'll follow. And that's really, really good. So that kind of is a whirlwind through the life of Roots of Peace. We have about 270 employees now. We're doing about 15 million a year. And this next year, we're going to grow to about 22 million. But that's about right size for us. So Apurv, I've got that. If there's any questions they want to ask.
Well, fascinating presentation. It seems to me that what you're doing is really doing a program that takes people from nursery through college in how to be productive individuals rather than individuals that are constantly asking for handouts, which unfortunately is in every country to some extent, and in some countries to a great extent, and that doesn't really do anything. But the programs sound very, very fascinating. You were going, before I forget, you were going to show us the picture of Heidi in Afghanistan with the grapes that you helped produce.
Right. Some of you are expecting Heidi Kuhn to be here. She's in the hospital, kind of semi-emergency. She's doing very well. But here is Heidi. You can see this. This is Heidi working with one of our farmers, and this is just north of Kabul in Afghanistan. And farmers don't smile very much, you know. So this is about as much as we get out of him. But he's smiling. This farmer was happy. We had taught these farmers how to trellis their vines. So the grapevines were grown on the ground, and which is not very efficient. Grapes naturally grow on trees. So grape trellises, for those of you who have not seen it, are like fences, and then you grow the grapes up on the fences. So you're looking down a row, and there's two of these fences on each side of them. But what it does is it doubles the yields of the grapes, and it allows you to grow these massive bunches that, like she's got there. This is Shindakani grape. This is kind of the grandfather to Thompson seedless. That's a big product here in United States. So we have products in America that owe their heritage back to Afghanistan.
Well, that's a wonderful photo, and you're absolutely right. The farmer looks absolutely pleased, and most of them do not look very happy most of the time.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was really impressed by, you focus on picking the countries that are ready, the fact that you pick on the right kind of a situation, and you take into consideration the government, the structure, so that you can be successful. And how do you analyze that? You just picked it by throwing darts, or how do you do
Dartboard, yeah. Yeah, I've got to go there, so I actually do the work to figure it out.
Well, I thought that you were the initiator, so please tell me, how do you do that? Because that's very important.
Yeah, I've been to Afghanistan 50 times, and it's, you know, so I pick these countries carefully. But it's, we look at first at, you know, are they countries where we could help, you know? So Sudan is not a country that lends itself well to the type of horticultural products that we work with. And so we didn't rush into Sudan, South Sudan. You know, Afghanistan grows every crop that grows in California. So California grows pomegranates, Afghanistan, every crop that grows in Afghanistan grows in California. So we know this. And UC Davis, who's our partner, knows it very well. In Fresno State, they all know these crops. So it's very easy for us to do this because we kind of live around. I grow grapes on my property here, so we've got a little bit of knowledge there. But the other thing is the Afghans are phenomenal. Their work ethic is incredible. They don't want handouts. Yeah, they want to be given an opportunity on how to do something themselves and how to build their future. And same thing in Guatemala, and it's good. Zimbabwe, is great. They have lots of different opportunities for tropical products, coffee, bananas, avocados, a lot of good crops down there that they could grow. So we have to be able to convince ourselves that this is such a good business opportunity that we'd want to invest in it ourselves. So we do the math, do it income statements and figure it out. And then we work with the government to talk to them about the programs and engage what their opportunity is. We met with the president of Zimbabwe. We met with the Minister of Finance and the Minister of Agriculture there and talked to them about this and told them, they've got some very restrictive currency controls that would limit our ability to sell products and export products. Would they change these things? So if they don't, you can't push a rope on these things. And in Zimbabwe, unfortunately, we just said no. Yemen is incredible opportunity for different crops. Coffee was first domesticated and commercially farmed in Yemen. They have incredible opportunities because down by the sea, it's obviously at sea level, and then it goes slowly up to about 6,000 feet, which means you have lots of bands of where you can grow different crops along.
Yeah, that's terracing.
The terrace, and also as clouds come in and pile up, that's where they dump their rain too. So great opportunities there, but they've got to sort the things out. There's 3 warring groups there. Not one of them is strong enough to control the country, so if they take turns, who runs it? Now you've got Saudi Arabia involved in Iran, and so it's just not going anywhere positive. So that it's important. If you can't convince yourself that you could have a major impact on somebody's life, it's not worth trying. And by major, I mean double, triple, quadruple kind of stuff, not 10%. So that's what we do is first. When we went to Afghanistan, before we got to Afghanistan, we went to India and looked at their markets and saw what they're paying and what they're buying, and then went to Afghanistan and saw what they're growing. Then our job was just to be able to connect the two. That's basically what we did.
Oh, Afghanistan are very, very proud people. They withstood the Russians and basically.
They're tough.
But anyway, thank you. That was very, very enlightening. Apurv, over to you with the questions.
Thanks, Dr. Delbach, and thanks, Gary, for an excellent presentation. While you're still on the topic of sort of, selecting countries and where you can have a transformative impact on the population, I have a question here, sort of, which country do you believe has had the best outcome, and what do you think is the reason for it? Also, do you get any resistance from governments in crisis?
Okay, 2 questions. So which is the best outcome of our work?
Yeah, which country do you believe has had the best outcome, right? And what is the reason behind it?
I think Afghanistan and Vietnam are both kind of tied. For Afghanistan's scale was much bigger for us, and we've done, I don't know, about $150 million of programs. We did 38 programs there. Vietnam is just, we did about 7 programs there, but both of them, and the way I measure success is how many people did you impact and how much did you impact them, and so we use, our metrics were net income. And so in Afghanistan, it's millions of people, and the metric went up to $4,000, and it was around $600 to $800 before. So it was a huge jump there. Most current programs, so that's part of it there. And the governments in both cases were extremely supportive. The government, Afghanistan and Vietnam, would both basically lend their agricultural extension teams to us. We would manage them. We had 400 Afghan extension agents basically working for us, and we taught them how to do it. And then they went back to work for the government and then continued the work. Vietnam, same thing. Vietnam didn't trust us. They're very untrusting people, government. But once they saw that we were doing good things, we expanded, and it worked out extremely well. So government involvement is key. And so the second question was about what do governments do? Governments can stop the development or make it inefficient. Our work in Angola was not successful, and the governments just stopped it at each turn. We had one project to develop a national park there, a preserve for the elephants. The elephants were locked into a certain area, and because a landmine built, so they couldn't go on their whole range in Okavango all the way up to the Trans-Zambezi area. And we figured out a way to clear a corridor and also set up a national preserve there, so there would be no hunting there. And then if the elephants strayed off, they would preserve, and then in the other areas, there would be game camps where you could permit hunters to shoot elephants, which is bad, but if you don't have some kind of check on their population growth, it'll eventually crush the area. So the funds from that, we're going to manage the park. We got all set up. It was all wonderful. We had a European donor ready to fund the whole program. And the land that we set aside for these game parks, suddenly we're now part of this new company that just started up. And then we dug into that and found out, it was the Minister of Tourism who we were working with, the Minister of Finance who we were working with, and DeSantis himself. And so they said, we'll take over all this good part of this thing where you're going to earn money, and you guys do the rest. And so that just killed that program. And so in Afghanistan and Croatia and Vietnam, we work with the presidents and the vice president and the ministers. Heidi's really good at getting these meetings set up, and then I present the strategy, and she has her visions too. So it's a nice teamwork there. Without the help of the government, I mean, serious help, they'll say one thing and do another. So if they say and do help, then that is essential.
Yeah. So I think sort of, there's almost like a threefold theories to roots of peace. So on one hand, you try and sort of clear out the remnants of war, and then you establish these agricultural supply chains, which in turn sort of empower communities and individuals, many of who, are living on less than $2 a day. So I guess if I were to sort of, focus your attention on the first part, how do you actually sort of select these lands where these mines can be cleared? And what is your process in actually clearing some of this land to then initiate the agricultural supply chains and the communities, etc.?
Yeah, sure. In Vietnam, it's probably a good case. So in Vietnam, the United States dropped a huge amount of bombs on the DMZ area and North Vietnam. The U.S. dropped more bombs during that conflict than all the weapons, all the explosives used during World War II by all sides. So this is a massive amount of bombs. And so the landmines are not as big of an issue in Vietnam. It's primarily bombs that dropped into the ground. The ground was soft, or it hit a tropical canopy, and the bomb didn't go off. And that's some percentage of bombs. And also U.S. was developing cluster munitions at this time. So they had a big canister that would explode 100 yards in the air, and little tiny sub munitions would then spread out, 550 of them, and 10%, 5% of those would not go off. So there's areas that are just completely covered. 78% of Quang Tri province has UXOs in it. Laos fared far worse. 1/3 of the country of Laos, you cannot go in because there's so many bombs in the area. So 1/3 of the country. And they've only cleared, like 3 kilometers, 30 kilometers of that so far. It'll take them centuries to clear that out. So we then look and say, okay, we'll work in the areas where the farmers can plant the crops that we're talking about. And we were focused on coffee and black pepper and cacao. So we met with the mine clearance guys and say, here's the areas where we want to clear. We want these done. Then when it's done, then we're going to plant the vineyards right after you. And literally the mine clearance guys would finish and the farmer would be there planting the next day. And so that worked out very well. In Afghanistan, we focused on the irrigation systems first. The canals were all mined. So we cleared the major canals, then we cleared the smaller canals, then we cleared the vineyards themselves. So we took a very methodical approach to it, but it was slanted towards clearing the villages and their means of livelihood, their vineyards. So much of the mine clearance being done before we arrived was they'll just clear the village. Okay, everyone's safe. The refugees can come back and they can go into their village again. Well, they got to their village and there's their vineyard. There's their livelihood. They'd walk out in their vineyard and bam, they died. You know, we had stories where 3 people would walk into the same vineyard and 3 people hit landmines. There happened to be 26 landmines in that vineyard. So we said, no, stop this. Do the village and the vineyards all at once. So make that area whole, then go on to the next one. And it was a small change. I think it's kind of a simple change. It took me 3 years to make that happen. You know, so that was a little hard. But Afghanistan now it used to be the most mined place in the world. It's cleared almost all their high and medium priority mines away, and so they're in good shape.
It's really fascinating that you're putting so much effort, and actually accomplishing so much with the right attitude, and governments that are not greedy and are not, nepotism is not the only thing that they actually follow. That's just wonderful listening to you. Apurv, do you have other questions?
Yes, we have sort of questions pouring in from Gary, from a bunch of our sort of students in Ukraine. One from Bodna is your idea to sell the specialty market is good. However, is it possible to cover a fair price level in case, you know, especially when the availability of the product is rising?
Yeah, well,
I guess yeah, around pricing.
Yeah, it's around pricing. You have to pick your products well. So if you use whatever information you have. If supply is rising, like in the case of coffee, supply is rising, continues to rise. Brazil's planting lots. You know, a lot of countries are switching from from Robusta coffee to Arabica, and so that's depressing the prices. Anytime Vietnam gets into a product, they're going to go crazy and they're going to produce a lot of it. So you have to take that into consideration when you're talking with farmers and saying this is what you should grow. So you shouldn't pick a crop that you expect is going to be oversupplied. The other thing is we look at multiple crops and let the farmers decide. The farmers make the final decisions on what crop they do, what variety of the crop they do, and that's important. The fair trade and fair price is a challenged concept in the sense that nobody's going to pay fair price just because it's the fair price. It just doesn't happen. There's companies that are doing fair trade and all. If you go to the farmer and say, if you do these extra things here, then I will pay you a higher price. Maybe that's fair. Maybe then the farmer has to decide. If I do this stuff, then I'll be organic and I could certify this as organic. If I do this extra stuff, it'll be cleaner product. And so the trader the processor won't have to clean out rocks from the product. So that's the way we operate at Root Species. Let's figure out what the farmer can do to help himself make more. And I think that's really, when you say about fair product, fair price, it should be pushed back to the farmer. how are you going to earn more?
Have you? Oh,
Yeah.
that's definitely makes a lot of sense. You know, that you get the farmer involved, and at the same time that you have a awareness of what are this product is worth someplace else, so that there can be a comparison on the basis of what you charge.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some simple things like herders were shearing their sheep and goats, shearing the goats, and they would get white, gray, and black fur out of this and cashmere, and then they'd sell it. The white is the best because it takes dyes better, obviously. And so if you give them a mixed bag, the price is very low. They basically sell it, buy it at the price of the gray or the black. So if they just had their kids, or they sit down and separate it all out, so that the white's here, gray's here, they're black, they would get 35% more. Yeah. It's a very simple thing. They had to do a little extra work, but can they do that? Sure. And it's easy to teach them. Here, do this. Then go sell to that guy, and you'll get more. Simple. There's a lot of things like that there, and farmers after harvest have a lot of time. They got to celebrate a little bit, but they have a lot of time, so that this post-harvest processing is a huge opportunity for farmers.
It's like 2 and 2 = 4.
Yeah.
That's a terrific analogy. Apurv?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think sort of, very basic sort of financial modeling can go a long way amongst these communities as well. When done on scale, you can suddenly see the impacts, a lot faster. We have another question around sort of the size of your operations, Gary. You mentioned that, you're keeping your operations small, which is relative for now, but do you still have plans to expand in more countries, or is your focus based on managing the existing countries, which seem to be a growing challenge? And if you do choose to expand, what might be your selection process?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we, 3 or 4 years ago, we sat down and decided we want to pick our next countries, and Yemen, Zimbabwe, and Guatemala were the 3. And so we traveled to each of these countries, and Yemen is out because it's not really post-conflict. If they settle down, then we'd love to go back in there. Zimbabwe, it's not going to happen there. It's extreme on what the country's going through. Zimbabwe is now accepting food aid from the UN. And Guatemala is therefore our focus. So we want to work in the northern triangle in Central America, and it's exciting there because our team, a lot of our team could speak Spanish and actually talk the local language, but also we've already proven to ourselves that we know how we could reverse the fortunes of thousands of farmers there, and build basically a national strategy on how to cope with this exodus that's going on in the country. And it would be nice if the U.S. could realize this and start diverting funds. And I think Trump actually stopped funding for the Northern Triangle through USAID and diverting funding to the wall. So it's we're going the wrong direction. We need to go back and not treat the symptom here. The problem is the people living down there want to live, and even if you build a wall, they're still going to come. They're still going to work because the odds of them living in Guatemala and El Salvador right now is dropping pretty fast, and the government there doesn't have the capacity to support that. So Guatemala is kind of where we're looking.
So you'll be moving away from clearing mines because I don't, from the war-torn countries to basically countries that are just not capable of governing themselves.
So in Guatemala, Guatemala's post-conflict, and our focus would be in the northern areas where they were most devastated by the purges that happened there. So there are some landmines there, but landmines are not the main issue. Building trust is going to be one of the big issues there. And working with the government to support, build the infrastructure to support these areas is also a big challenge. They need coffee is a pretty easy crop. Bananas are more difficult.
Yeah, but Bob, are you also including El Salvador in that?
Yes. It's El Salvador. The whole area, Nicaragua, has landmines, and those 4 countries there are in need of help. There's been a number of programs, U.S. companies that have done things down there that have not really helped. They need to build a stronger private sector there that is more resilient by adding in new crops that they could grow and increasing the amount of post-harvest production work that's being done down there. So they've got a very low cost of labor. So a lot of things can be done in Guatemala and El Salvador before the product is shipped to the US. So they should be leveraging that, and they're in a great position to do that. Mexico's already jumping on this now. Mexico's really increasing the amount of work that they're doing for products in agriculture to ship to the US. And so most of the avocados you get now are from areas in northern Mexico.
Are you, one of the problems that I see in countries in development is the fact that they basically have too many children, and they cannot, it's very difficult to have a sustainable development if you have so many children that you cannot feed or clothe or educate. And your program doesn't get involved in that at all, I know, but I think that that's one of the big problems in that area, is the fact that people have children that they cannot take care of.
A lot of Catholics down there. And,
yes, there's a lot of Catholics down there. Well, it's mostly with them are Catholics, and that even though the Pope said in the Philippines that basically they should not have children that they cannot take care of, but I think most of them are not listening to them. So it's not surprising that they are trying to move into America, that where they feel that they'll be able to have all the kids that they want, and then that the government is going to take care of them.
You've got the Catholic religion going on here, and also you have in rural farming, kids are workers, and so there's been attention to have more kids there. But yeah, that's something we leave that to other organizations to deal with. We don't have anything in that area at all. So we just want to give them the farmers a livelihood, the fathers.
Well, if they follow your directions, then you can help them. But then you need so many other extraneous factors in order to be able to achieve your goals. And your example of Croatia, Afghanistan, and it's just wonderful. And Vietnam, it's just terrific that you've been able to find areas where you can really be extremely productive and successful, and show an indication to what can be done with good governance, which is you're doing in your organization.
Yeah, I mean, we're replacing what the Ministry of Agriculture should be doing, but if they don't know how to grow these crops, you can't expect them just all of a sudden do that kind of work. And also the ministries of agriculture are really good on growing things, but they're not as good with the selling things side of it. And so we fill a nice void there that we want to train them. I mean, right now we have training going on in Afghanistan where we're training the Ministry of Agriculture people on market-driven programming. So basically saying, don't do anything unless the market backs up what you're trying to do. Don't promote some crop unless you check the market to see if there's a market for that crop. You know, I've seen so many times where they go out and say, yeah, here's this new crop that we're going to grow here, and it grows really well. Look at that. No one wants to buy that crop, or they'll pay, the price is so low that you're not going to make any money. So market driven, which we take for granted, has been a lot of what we preach. And that's because in this post-Soviet bloc era, these countries were in a command and control economy, and they weren't market driven, you know. And so teaching Vietnamese government officials that you want to follow the market was a big chunk of what we do. And during that time, I went to Moscow when it was Soviet Union, and you went to the butcher, and their butcher shop was empty, nothing there. But there was some ingenious little market-driven butcher who sold everything in the back of the store, because there he could change the price instead of the government-determined price. He was negotiating, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 times higher than the government price. So,
well, there's always a few
no matter what,
entrepreneurs, but basically, you know, that's why most of the people, the intelligentsia, everybody moved out, because otherwise the people that had some brains couldn't live in that system. So, Apurv, over to you.
Excellent. I'm conscious of time, Gary, so my next question can sound a little heavy, but if you could be as brief as possible. You know, you started out as an organization to remove the remnants of war and establish peace. Where and how did agriculture come in between all of this? And how did you choose agriculture as your route to peace?
Great.
That's a great question. You know, I spent 23 years in high tech, and I was always in business development. So I was the guy going out, and engineers would have a great idea, and I'd go out and see if there's actually a market for their ingenious new product. You know, so when I traveled to these countries, I would look to see, you know, okay, if we want to help lots of people, how do we do it? And you could set up small businesses and, you know, stores and jewelry and, you know, that kind of stuff. And it was, you know, you could help, it'd be positive. And, but you're talking hundreds of stores and things like that. Maybe you get up into 1,000 or 2. We really want to get to hundreds of thousands, and agriculture is the way to do that, because we could go in with programs, and for $300 get a farmer set up with a new orchard. You know, to get a business set up would probably cost a couple thousand. So when we look at what we are doing, we cost it out, you know, so the donors want to see impacts. Okay, how much can we get done? How many people can we help per dollar? And so agriculture came out by far as the best investment of donor money, and raising their incomes from poverty level to very comfortable living. So the impact and the cost per the intervention were the 2 driving forces.
Yeah. That's exceptional. And on top of that, sort of, you know, you're increasing the income of the most vulnerable group as well, which primarily sort of essentially work in agricultural related supply chains.
Right.
Excellent. Well, thank you once again, Gary, for introducing Roots of Peace, for sharing with our audience all the wonderful work that, you know, you and your organization are doing across the globe for some of the most vulnerable people in the most innovative manners possible. I'm sure this has been an exceptional learning experience for everyone joining from around the world. And I cannot sort of thank you enough on behalf of Dr. Durbach, Mariam, World Information Transfer, for taking out the time and joining us. Dr. Durbach?
Well, I just want to say that it was just an extremely informative presentation, And I cannot think that Heidi would do a better job than you, but I am impressed. And the next time that somebody is asking me who I could recommend for grant, I would definitely name Roots of Peace.
Thank you. That'd be wonderful. Thank you all. I appreciate the opportunity here.
Thank you very much.
That was
Thank
Heidi.
you everyone for joining.